Good morning, everybody. In a couple of minutes, we're going to have the ringing of the bells. So if you have a cell phone, if you can find your app, put it on, please. It won't be on speaker. They've got it on the thing when we're ready to go. I thank you, everybody, for coming. Whenever you're ready, Martin. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's good to see you all here this morning. It's a nice, beautiful morning compared to what it could have been. At this point, I'm going to ask Miles to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please salute. If you are not in uniform, please put your hands on your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nate.
Thank you for your service.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Nate. Miles. This time I asked Lou Sirocco for a little invocation.
Let us invoke the request the presence of our Lord to be here with us. Thank Him for all the support and help that He gave to all the veterans serving in all the wars for our country, and ask that He also specifically support all those who are serving now on land, on sea, in the air. And as we go through our day today, think about all the sacrifices, not only of the veterans, but of their families. It's a great burden on all the families, and we all know that. So thank you. May God bless America.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Will. This time I asked Nate to come up to do the proclamation from the governor.
Whereas, since the Commonwealth's earliest days, thousands of men and women have served our country in defense of freedom and liberty. And whereas on November 11th, 1918, after 4 years of conflict, the armistice was signed in the forest of Compiègne by the Allied nations and Germany, ending World War I, the war to end all wars. And whereas since that day, every November, people from around the nation have gathered to honor our veterans, and whereas in November 2024, the world will commemorate the 106th anniversary of the armistice that ended the fighting in World War I at 11 a.m., November 11th, 1918, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. And whereas there are approximately 300,000 veterans living in Massachusetts, and whereas in recognition of the sacrifices made by those who have served our great nation, Massachusetts remains committed to supporting its veteran community through the Hero Act, honoring, empowering, and recognizing our service members and veterans. And whereas today we are reminded of the great sacrifices and contributions of our veterans have made to our country, and whereas we honor and salute those who served our country throughout the generations with honor, patriotism, and courage. And whereas it is appropriate that all Massachusetts residents remember the bravery of those who served their country, so that their dedication and sacrifices serve as a reminder of the cost of our freedom. Now, therefore, I, Maura T. Healey, Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim November 11th, 2024 to be Veterans Day, and urge all residents of the Commonwealth to take cognizance of this event and participate fittingly in its observance, given at the Executive Chamber in Boston this 11th day of November in the year 2024.
Thank you. Thank you, Nate. Appreciate it. Our first speaker this morning is our representative, James Astorello.
Thank you.
Today we honor those brave men and women whose service and personal sacrifice in our military have defended and preserved our American way of life. The United States has always been blessed with countless heroes who have come forward to serve America in her time of need. Whenever our country has come under attack, they have risen to her defense. American veterans have fought not only to preserve the American nation and her liberty, but over decades and centuries have liberated many countries around the world, giving them the same opportunity to the freedoms and rights that we all enjoy and hold dear as Americans. Each year, on the 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month, we pause as a nation and as Americans to pay tribute to our veterans, our American heroes, who over the generations have served our country with such honor and distinction. Veterans Day is a time to stop, reflect, and remember all the brave American men and women who have sacrificed so much throughout our nation's history in the defense of our liberties and our freedom. For many American veterans, today is a special day of memories, as it should be for all of us. It's another opportunity to count their blessings, appreciate and love for their families, and to be proud of all they have done for this great nation. For our soldiers serving today, it's another potential day in harm's way. Another day before they hopefully, with God's blessing, are reunited with their loved ones. On this most sacred day, our words of thanks and gratitude will never be enough. For it's not only in words that we should honor our veterans, but through our deeds each and every day. Very often, veterans will not speak openly about their experiences in war. That's why it's incumbent on us to ask, to engage, to listen, to learn, and teach our children about the enormous sacrifices that they've made and the burdens they have endured to preserve our American way of life. Coming from a military family myself, I have felt the honor, the fear of loved ones serving in dangerous lands. To all the veterans and their families listening today, there is no special praise or public commendation that can ever equal the commitment, sacrifice that you've made for our grateful country. But we all need to do our part. In this FY25 budget, I was able to secure $25,000 for the Hidden Battles Foundation, a nonprofit organization in our region that offers mental health support to veterans who have experienced combat and PTSDs due to war. I am proud that our state leads the nation in the number of benefit programs for our servicemen and women. This summer, the Massachusetts legislature passed the HERO Act. It creates comprehensive services for active duty service members and military families. It increases benefits for disabled veterans and Gold Star family members, and requires working groups to review mental health that veterans are enduring, including PTSD. Also this summer, the Affordable Homes Act, a $5 billion bond bill, was signed into law. I am proud to have chaired that committee and led it to the finish line. It's the largest investment in housing in the Commonwealth's history. This bill includes an affordable housing preference for low or moderate income veterans, and it dedicates $200 million to support innovative and alternative forms of rental housing for veterans, seniors, and individuals experiencing homelessness. They're just a few examples of the strong commitment of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts has made to our veterans. It's a small part to the greater effort that each and every one of us can make, an honor to serve each and every day. These veterans have done so much for us. We must be ever vigilant in honoring those who served us in the military. So on this Veterans Day, here in Littleton, we honor Littleton's veterans and veterans across our nation. Let us commit ourselves to continue to ensure that Americans' veterans receive both the care and the benefits that they need and that their families deserve. We will always stand with American men and women who have donned the uniform and stood up for my family, for your family, for our freedom and our nation. The grateful citizens of Littleton come together today to honor and celebrate the best among us, our American veterans. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless our veterans. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Very good. Thank you, James. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is from the Select Board, head of the Select Board, Mark Rambacher.
Good morning, Littleton veterans, families, and honored guests. Thank you all for being here. Veterans Day is often a forgotten holiday. Many people do not get the day off work. It doesn't mark the start or the end of the summer. There are no fireworks to watch or leaves to peep at. Veterans Day marks the end of the Great War, which many brave Americans served and gave their lives to protect ours. Today we honor their service as well as all who have served our country. We must never forget our veterans and what they mean to our country, and we must honor their service. Abraham Lincoln once said, "A nation that does not honor its heroes will not long endure." Today we gather to honor all who have served. Today we say thanks to you who have helped protect our nation. We say thanks for protecting us in times of war and preserving peace. We thank our veterans for sacrificing their own lives and ambitions so that we can achieve ours. Thomas Paine said, "Those who expect to reap the blessings of freedom must undergo the fatigue of supporting it." Our veterans serve our country so that the rest of us can live in peace. Our veterans fight so our children will not have to. To all of our veterans here today, thank you for your service. Your sacrifices keep us safe and make our country what it is today. We are forever grateful for all that you have done for us. Thank you all for being here. Thanks to all our veterans.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Our guest speaker today is former commander of the VFW Post, Hal Baker.
All right. Let's see. 106 years ago, 1918. A lot of young men from Littleton, a lot of young men from the United States were overseas in France, or France. You know, what was the U.S. like at the time? Like today, roughly about 15% of the population were foreign-born immigrants. But 1/5, almost 20%, slightly over 20%, were first-generation Americans. And to top that, a further 1/5 were second-generation Americans. So you're talking about almost half of the country only being 2 generations removed from another country. Why did they come here? It was a promise of small d democracy, a small r republic. I'm not talking political parties. I'm talking about the concept of democracy and a republic. What was one of the ways that Woodrow Wilson got the United States to fight in the war, motivate them? Make the world safe for democracy. Unlike the French revolutionaries, who believed in exporting republicanism by force if necessary, similar to the spread of Islam by sword, the United States, the U.S. American exceptionalism has run through this country because from the get-go, our founders of this nation, of this Constitution, thought of themselves as setting an example, leading by example, showing the world, being a city on a hill, being a light for the rest of the world. Who were they up against? Now, it's become fashionable over the last 100 years to say they were equally wrong on all sides. But I take the position that the Central Powers, being the German Empire and the Austro-Hungarian Empire, really bear, they bear a lot more responsibility. And, it's back. Because, among other things, you had a highly centralized, even though it was nominally constitutional, monarchy. You had a highly centralized government in the German Empire, where one personality, Kaiser Wilhelm, wanted to make his country a player on a big stage. And to that end, he pursued a policy of Weltpolitik, which was a change from Bismarck's Realpolitik and focused on imperial expansion. The Austro-Hungarian Empire, while multicultural, was a very industrialized but German language-led empire that was a trade rival to the United Kingdom and France and even the United States because it had access to the Balkans. And people in the 90s sometimes were like going, why are the Balkans so important? And we forget that a huge amount of trade between Europe and the markets in Asia and vice versa went through the Balkans and still go through the Balkans. These people were no friends to small d democracy and small r republics. Bear with me. One of the things that the men that went off to fight in the war were familiar with was they were familiar with foreign languages in the United States. German up until World War I, and the nail in the coffin was done in World War II. German was at one time the second most common spoken language in the United States. And well about a third of Americans frequently spoke it in their homes. It was the most studied language in the public school systems, foreign language that is. And there were huge publications and daily newspapers and magazines in German in the United States. Well, there were also other publications in the United States. The Worcester Telegram and Gazette, my family kept as a memento a copy of the Worcester Telegram and Gazette in which my father, who would return from the war, was a policeman injured during a labor riot at the wire mill in Worcester, Massachusetts in 1919. And when you look at that issue, there's his photo with his big ears on the front page. But if you go through the newspaper issue, there's a whole section in the back in Italian and in French, because Worcester had a large Italian American and a large French Canadian population. The reason why there wasn't anything in Irish, because, well, the English did a really good job of Anglicizing Ireland after the 1798 rebellion. So who were these people that went? These men that went remembered the Civil War because there were still guys around Littleton, still guys around Middlesex County who fought in the war. A Civil War veteran who had been born in 1842 was 76 years old in 1918, and a lot of them were still around. These were men who had fought for the cause of union frequently, among other causes, but it was part of an agreement, a deal. If we are to be self-governed, the deal is that if you're to be self-governed, well, then you need to defend the government when it's under danger and it's under threat. So these people knew that they were defending our way of life, our democracy, our republic. And they went off to the war. Now, I know nowadays people are like, well, really? I mean, how free, how representative was it? Well, yeah, women hadn't gotten the right to vote yet. Now, the Jim Crow laws and segregation and some of the Exclusion Acts, the 1880s and stuff, yeah, but I mean, if you looked at any other country, there really wasn't anything that came close to the U.S. Well, Switzerland, but in the words of the historian Gary Gallagher, let's talk about countries that count. The U.S. was it. France had just become a republic, less than 2 generations beforehand. But the U.S. was really it for showing how self-government can work, because we went through a civil war that just devastated our country. The losses from the Civil War would equal probably close to 18 million as percentage of the population today. Yet these men went because they knew it was part of the deal. And every veteran here today, and when you think about your family, all the veterans that you've known in the past, everyone, when you raise your hand and take that oath, has made that deal. Whether you ended up handing out basketballs in Wiesbaden, whether you ended up pumping out gas at the Quick Mart at Naval Air Station North Island, whether you cleaned teeth in Tennessee, or whether you were in combat, or whether you flew passengers around. Nobody knows when they raise their hand what they're going to do. You sometimes have an idea. I want to do that. I'm going to do that. And sometimes you do it. But nobody knows. It's not your choice. And these people put their lives on hold. They put their dreams on hold sometimes. They sometimes gave the best parts of their minds, and they gave their lives. So when you thank veterans, just remember, please, they did this for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Hal. Now we're going to have a moment of silence for taps. Tap. Ha! And now ask Susan Rocco, come up to a little benediction, please.
Thank you all for being here. We thank our Lord, our God, for allowing us to be here and protecting our country, our land, our veterans, and all our citizens. It's very important. And let us leave here today as friends, understanding that we must, like as the speakers have said, work for our country as much as we can. Because this is the best experiment ever in the world. We must keep it going. Thank you.
Thank you. Cover. This concludes the ceremony for today. I thank everybody for coming. I'm not going to do any big speeches myself. I think three people did a wonderful job for it today. I do remind everybody that everybody's invited down to the VFW. There's Rotary Club has provided lunch for everybody down there today, so please stop by. And let's, they're the ones that are paying for it. They want you to enjoy it, so please stop by. Thank you very much for attending, and hopefully we'll see you all again Memorial Day and next year at Veterans Day.